Joining us today is Josh Francis, former Marine, former writer for Vet TV, stand-up comedian, and the co-host of the Triple F podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Do you have the same problem where if anyone finds out that you have any sort of association with comedy, then they're immediately just like, tell a joke, funny man, and like put you right on the
Dude,
spot?
yeah, dude. That's the worst because it's not it's not how that works. Do you know what I'm saying? Because like they'll be like, make me laugh. And it's like that's not how this works, dude. Like I'm not just gonna fucking
Yeah, the being made to feel like a court gesture really makes the Floridian gangster come out in me, you know?
yeah. It's like, yeah, I wanna be the gesture when I wanna be it,
Yeah,
you
when I
know?
want to
But
be,
not
yeah.
when you want, yeah. I don't answer to you.
Yeah, people pay me for this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I got $50 last night, all right? Suck my dick.
All right. But speaking of Florida, that's where you are now, right?
Yeah, I just moved here. I'm down in Fort Lauderdale area. Came from San Diego, so now I'm adjusting to, I don't know, get almost the threat of being stabbed everywhere I go.
Uh, there is quicksand. There are riptides. There are alligators. They give you a pamphlet of the Welcome to Florida. Here's how not to die.
No, they just gave me a shot of penicillin. They're like, you're probably gonna need this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, coming out of the Marine Corps, I kind of feel like all Marines need a shot of penicillin.
Yeah,
You know, whether it's their dalliances down in Tijuana or it's the mold that they spent 4 years breathing in the barracks.
yeah, that's good for you.
So I hope you don't take offense to me saying this, but my friend, you're quite possibly the most ginger person I've ever met, and you said that you were from Iowa. Are you okay in Florida? Like, are,
Yeah,
are you
dude.
surviving?
Well, it's my girl wants to go to the beach all the time, and it's like I don't know if people know this about redheads, but I can't do the outside for longer than 30 minutes. And if every time that we go, dude, it's like I turn into a lobster and I come back, and then she's like, "You never want to go to the beach." I'm like, "Yeah, I just don't want to die when I'm 40 from skin cancer. What are you talking about?"
That's fair. So when you were transitioning out of the Marine Corps, you told me in our pre-interview, and I like to drop that because it makes me feel fancy. Like, we put effort into this show.
Yeah,
You know, we have our little virtual green room. There are virtual refreshments.
yeah,
There's a notional couch, which is one of my favorite words in the Marine Corps.
the
Like,
notional casting couch.
yeah, anything that they were either too cheap or too lazy to set up, it's notional.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just imagine there's a notional crowd of rioters in front of you and go.
yeah, 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 dude.
I got to get out there and do stand up comedy. Do you feel like you could dispense an angry crowd with stand up if the moment really called for it?
Fuck no, dude.
Do
The
you think
last
you
thing they
would
want
like
to hear,
incite the
yeah,
riot?
yeah, I'm just gonna get hit in the head with a can of soup. What are you talking about?
They're like, yeah, this was going to be a peaceful protest, but man, those jokes were offensive. Now we want to
Yeah.
burn stuff down.
Yeah, he was talking about Kyle Rittenhouse.
You had mentioned earlier you had kind of started to develop your ability to do stand up while you were in the Marine Corps. You said that your company commander would essentially just pull you out in front of the entire formation and make you tell jokes in front of the unit.
Yeah, it was like a thing because he knew that because I was in the office with him for like a couple like 2 months right before I got out. They were just processing me out, and so I just kind of hung out in the office, and me and him would talk comedy a lot. And
Um,
he started doing this thing where on the like he would I told him that I wanted to do it, and so he kind of forced me to do it. It kind of was that push of being like, you're not going to talk about it, you're going to be about it. So I would have to
oh
write like
yeah.
little one-liners. So it was sick.
Well, that's awesome. You often hear instances where a chain of command is a hindrance to someone's dream. So it's nice to hear that he was an enabler for that.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's weird because I think with any type of creative pursuit, I feel like there's an initial pushback from like manly men in the military that are like no, dude, like you can pursue something if you have a passion for it, Like I was like, I was afraid. I don't know why, but I was afraid that people would make fun of me if I tried to do stand up, like my friends. And it's like that's not what you should care about. And also,
Yeah.
it's not lame to do something creative. But I thought in my head it was.
No, I get that. And you mentioned that you were in the back in the rear while your unit was out doing the training. And so was it that extra fear that you're going to be like the guy that isn't in dirty camis? getting out there having to tell jokes in front of everyone?
No, because I did. Because I mean, the only reason I was in the office was because I had already done. I was 3 years and 8 months like I had done 2 UDPs. I was already like one of the
Salt
senior guys.
dog.
Yeah, I was a salt dog. I don't know if you've ever been to Okinawa, Japan. But I was already kind of one of the senior guys that was like, I was working with the platoon. I trained up the new guys, and then they kind of just had to. It was kind of that the turning over of the keys. I had to hope that the guys that I had trained up for the last UDP kind of took control, and I kind of monitored it for like a month. They had me out there on the platoon still, and then they pulled me from the line and were just like, "Hey man, just focus on getting out." And I was like, "That's actually kind of a hookup too when you don't think about it in the time. In the time being, I was a little upset because I was like, I want to go. I want to go. Like, well, I didn't want to go to the last ITX, but also I didn't not want to go. I didn't want to be
Yeah.
the guy that skipped it. I didn't want to be like oh, he's in the rear type thing, but also who cares?
Yeah. Plus, one thing that I've noticed, particularly in the recent last year or two, is that ammo is expensive as a civilian.
Yeah. I don't really go recreationally and shoot weapons. I don't really do that. I'm not against it. I just don't. I was in California, dude. I didn't want to. I don't know what the laws are out there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, depending on where you live, you may not have access to a facility. I know in Florida, yeah, I think you're required to shoot at least 3 gators per day.
Yeah, yeah, you have to shoot out. Like, yeah, I think at the 4th of July, it's mandatory you empty a magazine into the air when the fireworks are going off.
Yeah, just try not to aim towards Disney. That's all
Yeah,
they
yeah,
ask.
that's the only. Yeah, the arch can't fall down. It can't rain lead on Disney.
Yeah, like that. That's too much of a moneymaker for the state. Like
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
be
yeah,
having
yeah.
that. The rest of you heathens, enjoy your Vice City GTA lifestyle, but keep Orange County pure.
Yeah, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing?
So, is there anything that was surprising about your new career field once you started that would maybe define your expectations?
Um, I think I don't know. I can talk shop about comedy for hours. I think the weirdest thing that you go into it, it's the most humbling thing that I think I've ever done. And like it's because you go in and you're like the first time that you're trying stand up, it's gonna be bad. The first like year, it's gonna be bad. First 2 years, it's gonna be bad. And so it's funny to think like I'm the shit, and then you walk in, and then you're like, you guys know when your mom's a bitch, and everybody's like, shut up. It's
Boo.
yeah, yeah. It's also like I've learned to not bring up. This is another. I've learned to not. I try to not bring up the military when I'm on stage
Yeah.
because I've had too many instances of dudes coming up to me and being like, "You were in the military," and they try to like. It's not like they're being supportive. They're checking me and trying to be like, and like they're trying to big dick me
Yeah.
like, and it's like, dude, I'm just trying to make you laugh. Why are you trying to fight me after the show? you know?
Yeah, the idea that your service might somehow invalidate theirs is very threatening to insecure men.
Yeah, when it's like, dude, just get a personality, bro. Like
Yeah, I have obviously I make my living by still associating with the military. I'd like to think that I'm kind of like one of those football players that had like, a decent career and then gets out and does like commentating, you know what I mean?
yeah, 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 100%.
Like, yeah, like somebody has to, tell the community what's going on with our benefits and legislation and stuff. And I feel somewhat qualified.
For sure, absolutely.
So I don't mind that too much. But then at the same time, like, uh, you have to kind of draw the line, like, what are your interests outside of that?
Mhm.
And, it is healthy and reasonable for people once they transition to understand, like, okay, like, yes, this is my favorite pair of jeans, and I may wear this like once or twice a week, but you can't wear the same pair of jeans every day, you
Right,
know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like, can you go to, 5 different parties in 5 different cities and have things to talk about with people? Are you giving yourself the opportunity to explore life?
Yeah, you see that a lot too with when I went to college, I was friends with a couple vets, and there's always going to be that guy who everything has to be back brings back to his military service. Like anytime in discussion in class happens, he has to be like, "Oh, that reminds me of this one time," and it's like, dude, just like I get it if it's relevant, but sometimes there's like when it's just that's all you talk about all the time, it kind of
Yeah.
it starts to be like, all right, man, you know?
Yeah, shoehorning it in unnecessarily is kind of the poor man's equivalent of just being mysterious. I find that
Right.
whenever I'm around, some of my fiance's friends who are civilians and they kind of ask about that stuff, I just kind of leave it, like mysterious, like, yeah, I appreciate your interest, but I just really don't want to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
like, oh
like
my God, what did he
you're like,
do?
legally, I can't. If I tell you, I have to kill you legally.
Oh man, that straight up has like blue cord hanging from your rearview mirror, my rank sticker on my car
Yeah,
energy.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm
You're
just like, you know what? I didn't do anything different than anyone left or right of me did.
yeah, 100%,
And
100%.
they're like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, if you feel that bad, like, you can get me a taco.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, I like that.
I will accept that. Or
Yeah,
when people are like, hey, thank you for your service. I'm like, thank you for paying taxes.
yeah, 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 yeah. I just thank Buffalo Wild Wings for that free meal every year. It's the
Ah,
reason
it's
I joined.
yeah, yeah, no joke. So uh, when you were first started your stand up comedy, was there anything that you kind of learned about yourself, either for the good or for the bad, that you feel like you didn't maybe realize when you first started?
I'm not funny. That's the no, it's an ego check, man. It's such an ego check. You never know. Like the one thing I love, like one thing that I truly love about comedy is that you like as much as you figure it out, there's still gonna be nights where you don't like I could go up tonight and just crush, and then I could use that same set and go to a different room tomorrow and bomb. And it's this whole I like the process. I love the process. I've learned that I like the challenge of kind of it's like a puzzle, you know? And so I've kind of learned that I like to always be challenged. I don't know if this is translating well, but it's basically like it's 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 more than just telling jokes, I think is what I'm trying to get at. It's kind of more of like about life. Like you have to be able to walk into a room and relate to people and kind of have conversations with people before you go up to kind of figure out how the room's going to be. And you have to feel the vibe of everything. And you have to kind of just be, you have to be, I don't know. I think the thing that I learned about comedy is that I need to never have an ego because every time I start
Yeah.
to have an ego, it gets checked right away.
Yeah, so I have a very small modicum of experience. This would be like the equivalent of somebody who went tandem skydiving one time trying to talk shop with like a skydive instructor.
Right, 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 right.
But in my very small experience, and the amount of times that I've been to stand up shows and all the specials that I've watched, and the 57 seasons of Whose Line Is It Anyways, both British and American, that I've binged.
Yeah,
Um, I've known that crowd interaction is huge.
yeah,
I was watching a recent special on Netflix, something I think it was Friends Who Kill, and I would probably say that a lot of the jokes didn't really land well, but there were some really good jokes that were in that special, and the crowd was just giving them nothing.
yeah.
No
That's yeah.
participation, no feedback, and it's hard to work with that.
Well, one of the things that I learned this is one of the things that I got taught by one of the guys like one of the guys that kind of took me under his wing right away, who was like a headliner who took me on the road with him, Logan Nielsen. He has his podcast stuff's been featured on like the late night shows and stuff. It's really cool. He's really smart, really funny guy. And he told me one of the first things that you need to do when you get into a room when you go up, it doesn't even need to be funny, but you have to address something in the room because it makes you be like it's no longer like you're coming in as like somebody that's above all the people being like, oh, here's now you have to listen to me. It's like if you come in and you acknowledge something in the room, like, oh, why is this? What's up with the bars? I don't know, swordfish that's hanging behind the wall. Like just something like that. That's not necessarily a home run that's funny. It just lets everybody know, like, hey, you're there with them. Like it's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're not above them in any means. And I think that translates to, I mean, life too. You know, you don't want to, it's that whole like never being above anybody in the room when you're talking, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, this is just too good of an opportunity. I'm gonna translate it back to service, you know. So
Yeah,
comedy is a
absolutely.
lot like being a good leader. No, I'm kidding.
No, hey, there is some overlay.
Yeah, no, I do like playing devil's advocate and finding the overlap and the Venn diagrams between, you know, the most unrelated things. Kind of like when you play like the 5 degrees of separation type game.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that the idea, and you know, whether it's, you know, a short form of comedy, a long form of comedy, improv, stand up, whatever the case is, um, you know, you're saying something because it's true, or because you are subverting an expectation. And so I find that when I am the most successful in comedy is when I do subvert an expectation, but there is that side of truth to it. And honestly, it is kind of like being a leader, because if I'm saying something, it's not because like, oh, you know, I'm, you know, big dick, big rank, and so you have to listen to me. It's like, no, I'm saying it because it needs to be said.
Yeah, so I think that I think that a thing that people don't realize is that like every time a comic is trying to make a joke, it's always for the right reason. It's never not always, but for the most part, it's coming from a good place. Do you know what I'm saying? It's they're always trying to make other people view something from a different perspective, for some from a thought process that they maybe, you know, the person might not have ever thought of it from. And so it's weird to me when people get offended because it's almost like they're getting their thought like what they know to be right is being challenged and they take offense to it, and it's like, dude, I'm just trying to make your day better. I'm just trying to make you laugh for
Yeah.
10 seconds, you know.
I always appreciate when someone acknowledges that they had a vastly different life than I did, but then we're able to find similarities in some of the struggles that we've had.
For sure.
And I remember one of the first times that I like truly had kind of one of those side splitting laughs in the smoke pit in the military was the one of my senior Marines, which is so crazy to think about, you know, like I'm 18, 19, they're like 19, 20, but like the wall between us, you
Yeah.
know. I remember he was from some very rural part, like some obscure part of America, like whatever, like you think of when you think of Saskatchewan, but in America. Like
Hmm.
that's where he was from, you
Yeah.
know, just like a place that only exists in like theory in my mind, you know?
Right, right.
Like it's not a real place. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they don't have county taxes and, you know, reservoir issues and stuff like that, you know, like there's not a PTA there that has a heated debate, you know, like that place doesn't exist, you know?
Yeah.
And so I remember he was telling me something about the fact that like um, that you know, men have certain responsibilities in the house, and that as a man, one of your primary responsibilities is if you see any speckles in the toilet, that it's your responsibility to pee on them until they go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I bounced around a lot, but part of my childhood, like it was me, my grandma, my mom, and 3 sisters, right? And so as the only man in the house, that was my responsibility.
Yeah, dude, you're
And so it was just like I remember like just him saying that, and it just struck such a chord because I was just like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
yeah,
And it's just the stupidest thing ever, you know?
100%.
And just kind of like being able to find those like human connections, I feel like is what really is the most beautiful part of comedy, is because, you know, we're not talking about like, oh yeah, isn't that funny? We just have too much money.
Yeah, right, right,
Yes,
right,
quite.
right.
Like no, you know, you're trying to find some sort of commiseration in bad circumstances.
Mhm. 100%.
And so is there any comic that you just really look up to or really idolize, or do you really feel like has influenced your sense of humor?
Dude, there's this guy, I don't know, I feel like people are starting to figure out, well, there's two, I think. There's this guy Joe List in New York City who's like, I think he's becoming, I mean, he's pretty well known at this point, but like I still don't think he gets the credit he deserves because he's put out specials on with Comedy Central and his latest is on YouTube, but like they haven't given him like a Netflix special for some reason. This dude, he's so smart and quick-witted that I try to like brand myself kind of similar to him with like a punchline. He does like a punchline every like 6 seconds. That's kind of his thing where it's like even if he's telling a story, he'll somehow make something funny in 6 seconds. And I think that's like it's just insane to watch
That's
somebody
a
be so good.
blazing cadence.
Right. It's yes, it's crazy to sit and just watch somebody destroy that hard for an hour. You're like, this is when you're watching it, it's kind of like you sit back and you're just like, I hope at some point in my life I can do what he's doing. You know, like he's so
Yeah.
good at it that it's like him, and then Shane Gillis is also one of the funniest people. I don't know if you've seen him at all, but he was the guy that he got fired from SNL. That's kind of what people know him for. He got fired the day after they hired him. Have you heard about this?
No, please tell
No,
me.
yeah. So essentially, on a podcast, he got hired on SNL, and on a podcast, he apparently just said, I don't even remember what he said. He said something that got him fired the next day. So like he didn't even go to cast, and then it turned up this huge thing on Twitter. Everyone was trying to like cancel him, and it's very funny because he's so funny that like everybody was trying to cancel him, and he's so funny that he came out and is now one of the most successful comedians because he was just like, you can't, like, it doesn't matter that I said one thing that was offensive that I regret it. It was, and it was in the form of a joke too. It wasn't him trying to just be mean. And then everybody tried to get rid of him, but he's so good that everybody was like, no, this just exposed us to one of the greatest comedians, you know? It was like it backfired. It's like, it's so cool because it backfired. They were like, you're never going to work again. And it's like, oh, actually you're going to sell out theaters in London. Like,
Yeah. So my executive producer is passing this over. Afterwards, he said, I'm happy to apologize to anyone who's actually offended by anything I've said. My intention is never to hurt anyone, but I am trying to be the best comedian I can be, and sometimes that requires risk.
Yeah, that's yes.
Yeah, so like you were saying, I don't think comedians' intentions are, I mean, unless they're a bad comedian and they're just trying to be inflammatory.
Right.
But most comedians, I don't think that they're ever trying to hurt anyone's feelings particularly. They're just trying to hit a topic from a fresh angle.
It's nobody's trying to make everybody mad. If you're truly doing it for the sake of comedy, you're never trying to upset people. You're always just trying to, I don't know, make them laugh for 5 seconds. That's why I always, it's like hecklers are another thing too. Cause it's like, what are you doing when you come to a show and you're like, maybe I can make this better by interrupting it? It's like, no, dude, you're going to get roasted.
Yeah, man. That reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies of all times by one of my favorite comics. Yeah, a bit of a polarizing figure for as many good things as he did. There are things that you can criticize him for, but Mel Brooks,
Yeah.
World War II veteran. I mean, it got to the point where one of the guys that he was writing jokes for hung him out of a window because he was being such a smart ass.
Yeah.
Like that's how you know that you get under people's skins when one of your friends, one of your clients, like hangs you out of a window, and it was like, you got anything else to say, smart ass?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but he just released a recent book. Even I think it was Born the Battle podcast by the VA. They have an interview that Mel Brooks did with the real life guy that Good Morning Vietnam is based on.
Oh, really?
That guy interviewed Mel Brooks for some product that never got released, and so they just shelved the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's on Born the Battle. But it's called History of the World Part 1. One of the greatest cinematic comedy experiences, in my opinion, as long as you don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Like if you're going in there expecting The Godfather, you're going to be disappointed. But it is brilliant in its own ways. And so they're going through the history of man, and they're like, okay, here's the first artist, and it's a caveman scrawling things on the wall. And like, the rest of the tribe is assembled, and he's like pointing to it, and it's like as stereotypical as you think it would be. It is that bad. And he's like pointing at it, and he's like, he's excited. And he's like, and along with the first arctic came the first critic, and a guy like lifts up his tunic and like pees all over it.
That's very funny.
And it is hard to put yourself out there. It is hard to take, your life perspective and try to make it funny and try to, it's like making someone cupcakes and they just smack it out of your hand. It is easier to tear down than it is to create.
Dude, we've been having, so the podcast that I'm on, it's like me and two of the funniest people I know, Matt Ross and Jeff Dole's, also comics down here. We've been making YouTube, so we've been doing the podcast thing, and we've been making little YouTube shorts, like the short form videos that are under 60 seconds. And what happens is the algorithm will just push those things out. So we're getting thousands of views by people that we know, like, have never experienced us, just because it pushes on the people's homepages. And it's insane, some of the comments, because it'll be a funny clip. They'll be like, we have a clip that's gotten a lot of views, and everybody's like, this is so funny. This is so funny. And then somebody literally commented, that ginger looks like a fucking and it's like, what the hell did I do, dude? Like, I'm just chilling in the video. Like, I didn't even say anything.
Yeah, it's like that one video where this guy who I think he might have been like European or something, but he pulls up next to this car full of like four, like they look like, frat bros, and he's like, "Do you not see where you're going?" And the guy in the back seat, he's a little heavy, and he's like, "Dude, I wasn't even driving," and he's just like, "Watch where you're going, you fucking fat piece of bacon," and like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
I
"Why
know
did I get
exactly.
picked on?"
Yeah, it's like what am I doing, dude? I'm just hanging out.
And I think the worst thing is whenever like I am making fun of something that applies to me and people get offended, you know?
Yeah, yes.
And it's just like, well, wait a second, like if I'm not mad about that and that directly applies to me, then why are you mad?
Dude, it's always yes, it's those as stereotypical as it is, it's the white women who want to stick up for everybody who get offended. And it's like you understand that like everybody else is okay with this. The person it's directed at is okay with this, but you're the one find it's just they're so uninteresting that they want to make something about them.
Yeah. And I think that being offended is not a substitution for a personality. And you know what else is not a substitution for a personality?
What's that?
Just being a hater, you know?
Yeah, oh, for sure.
If your entire stick is that you're just a hater, it's just like, come on, man, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's oh, this is just what I do. It's like, oh, so you're just a piece of shit.
Yeah, or people like, I don't care what you say, I'm not changing. I'm me, I'm being real, and it's just like, all right, no, that's not accurate because if I'm in the desert, I wear desert camouflage. If I'm in the jungle, I wear greens. If I'm at night, I'll put on night vision. So it doesn't change my skill set. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change all the core things about me. It's just you have to adapt to your situation. And I love how perfectly I teed this up. And usually I'm not so self-serving, but sometimes you just got to read the room.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I found that I try to do what makes me laugh, and I'm just very fortunate that other people laugh occasionally as well.
That's yes, yes. And that's why I mean, because comedy is the one of those things where it is if you say something and it truly isn't funny and its intention is to be funny, there's nothing worse. Like there's nothing worse if you're trying to be satirical and people don't understand that or it doesn't translate to be as funny as you thought it would be. So then it just sounds really mean, you know?
Yeah. Are there any tips or any go-to SOPs that you have if a joke bombs, for example? Because like I know like there are some comedians where if they say something and it doesn't hit, they'll be like, "Oh, you see, the men got real quiet. They know what I'm talking about," and it kind of gives them the opportunity to rebound.
Oh, yeah. So like the saves, I don't like doing. I try to not do saves. So that's like kind of like like what I do. I say those sarcastically, right? So if I say something that's kind I know is not relatable, I'll be like, "You guys know what I'm talking about?" Like sarcastic. I kind of lean into it
Yeah.
sarcastically. But I think that what I like to do if a joke's bombing, like so if a joke bombs, well, I guess it depends. If it's a joke that I know works and it bombs, sometimes you just have to keep powering through it. But
Yeah.
if it's a new joke and you're trying it out and it bombs, I'll be like I'll like drive home that night after the show or after the mic and I'll be like I'm fucking quitting comedy. I'm so bad at it. I'm like I fucking am never going to write another funny joke again in my life.
Yeah, because it is disappointing when you put something out there that you worked really hard on, and then I don't know if for you because you're in a different sector of fire when it comes to comedy, but sometimes it seems like the shit that you really did not put that much effort into it is the stuff that pops off.
Yeah, dude, it's the weirdest thing when cuz the basic form of a joke is setup punchline, you know? And it's so weird when like the setup gets a bigger pop than the punchline. You're like, that wasn't even supposed to be the thing that's funny. And then you have to keep
Yeah.
it because you're like, "Oh, well this works, but I don't know why."
Yeah, and I've made a few thousand memes in the last 6 years or so, and it's kind of like just one-liners essentially. One or
Yeah.
two-liners, three-liners, and if you had to ask me, what are my favorite ones? Um, One of the ones that comes to mind the first is like it was like this picture of this incredulous-looking Marine. He's got a very concerned look on his face, and he's got his helmet on, he's got his eye pro, he's in the woods, and it's like few civilians will ever know what it's like to try to take a shit in the woods while your friends throw pine cones at you and call you gay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, you made that? I've seen that a
Yeah.
bunch. Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that.
and and it is just like, you may not be able to relate to that experience directly, but everybody has had some sort of humiliating, confusing,
Yeah.
semi-erotic moment in their life where
Yeah.
they can relate
Dude.
to.
Oh my God. One time I was leaving a show. This is when I was still in Iowa. And I was leaving a show and it was like 3 in the morning, and I had to drive like an hour and a half back to my place. And I was driving, I had to use the bathroom. So I pulled over into the woods and I went to take a shit. And I run into the random woods, run in like 5 feet, and I go to take a shit and I look down, or I squat down and I look up and there's a red light like on a tree. And I'm like squinting at it and I'm like, what is that? And as I'm like staring at it, I make out it's a trail cam for like deer. And so I put the shit, dude, in front of this trail cam. And this guy, like, I mean, because from his perspective, the guy who's it looked like I knew what I was doing because I just ran in there and I looked right at it and shit everywhere. And then, like, I was like, what in the and I think about it every day
Wow.
because he never, dude, nothing never came from it. Like,
How could you even find him to apologize?
well, it's like I just assumed I was gonna be on like the front page of Reddit, like for like months, dude. Like every time my phone vibrates, I'm always like, it's gonna be that. I'm gonna be on. It's gonna be that, and it never. Yeah, nothing came from it. He might have, but like nothing. Oh, okay.
Hey.
Yeah, but he never posted. I think about that all the time, man.
Yeah, it's just like he's just like, oh, I got some activation, and it's a long clip. Like he's thinking like hopefully maybe it's like a 12-pointer or something like that.
Yeah.
And no, it's just this little ginger dude runs out, poops, looks dead at the camera.
And then just fucking disappears into the night. And it's also
you
like
didn't wipe?
No, well, I had a McDonald's bag. I had a McDonald's bag with me. I did. I did wipe, dude. And then I remember there was some fries in the bag, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh, talk about that Mulan sauce.
Yeah, that's a secret sauce.
Oh, please tell me you're gonna incorporate that into your stand-up.
I could at some point. I thought about.
That is a beautiful story.
The only thing I don't like about it is it's a legit poop story. Like that's why I don't like it, because it's a poop joke, but it's a good story.
Yeah, I think that when you're dealing with an audience that takes themselves too seriously, it's hard to have those moments. Because like I said earlier, like one of my first real side-splitting laughs in the Marine Corps was about poop.
Yeah. So, well, poop is so universal, dude. It's like
it really is.
It's one of those things that everybody know, like everybody poops. There's certain universal things that happen. Like everybody poops, everybody sleeps. Everybody has their mouth burned by Hot Pockets. Like there's like things that are gonna happen to you in life.
Song of fire and ice.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna fucking experience certain things the same. So it's funny to
Yeah, and I think that that also being able to express that you don't take yourself that seriously is a good way to break that ice. Samantha and I were on a road trip, and she's just like, hey, like I have to use the restroom, can you pull over? And I was just like, oh well, hey, like there's this she just joined the Army, and I was like, hey, there's this trick that I learned when I was in Iraq, and I kind of reach in the back seat without looking and fumble around a little bit, and I pull up a Gatorade bottle, and I was just like, this trick that I learned in Iraq, but I got to warn you, it usually makes a mess. And I just kind of like waggled the bottle at her, and just the look that she gave me, like, are you serious?
Dude, I don't even know how that would logistically work for a girl, though.
No. You're thinking about the front end. I was talking about the back end.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about 03. I was 20 years old. I was in Iraq on post 2, facing the southeast side of Old Ubaidi, and we had gotten in trouble for cutting sandbags to poop. And so the platoon sergeant was just like, next one of you motherfuckers that cuts a sandbag to take a shit in, I'm gonna strangle the fuck out of you. And he was like one of those like 3 like red stripe like IT like McMap instructors.
Yeah, the McMap instructors.
And see, here's the thing, and like this was in 2005, and so this was kind of like before jiu-jitsu became like more relatively popular. So if you were like halfway decent, you were destroying people in the grappling pits.
Yeah.
Like those tabbed Marine martial arts instructors, MAA, MAITs, like they may not be going into UFC and winning championships, but they're sure to destroy the fuck out of a platoon who doesn't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they'll fuck you up.
Like he even choked out our lieutenant with the lieutenant's own camelback when we were doing
Yeah,
combat grappling. Like
yeah.
it was bad. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, staff sergeant's gonna choke me the fuck out if I cut another stab bag. And I look over and there's a Gatorade bottle and chaos ensued.
Oh, and it's an MRE shit too. So it's like a log.
Yeah, it's either log or it's splatter, you know.
Yeah, one of the oh god.
Yeah, if you thought this show wasn't going to be about bowel
Yeah,
movements, you're sorely mistaken.
yeah, how would it not be? I saw it, dude. I saw this thing the other day. This girl, oh man, I shouldn't. It's fun. Some girl I know from Iowa who is dating like a dude that's in like the National Guard, and
Yeah.
she made a post for Memorial Day, and it was her. They had laid out like 3 MREs, and they were like, "Today, in honor of the fallen, we're gonna eat MREs." And I'm like, "What are you fucking trying? What the
Are
fuck
you
does that even mean?"
What?
I swear to God, I was and she was like, my husband is he is an army, whatever the fuck soldier, and he secure because it's like that's their thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like she's trying to make something
Yeah.
about her in a weird way that everybody who is in the military would be like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? And it was the craziest thing.
I got to be honest with you, brother, man. When you started that story, I assumed it was going to be about poop with lots of corn in it. And it was way worse than what I thought.
It was worse than that, dude.
I would have preferred the corn laden poop story.
Yeah, dude. It's like, in honor of the fallen, we're going to eat the fucking spaghetti with noodles. It's like, what in the fuck? They're going to be pissed at you. Go eat a steak if you're trying to do something like that.
Now, was it at least a time lapse video, or was it just like
It was just a photo. It was just a photo of the 3 MREs with like a 3-paragraph thing wrote about like how somehow they were making Memorial Day about them.
And now, did we have any confirmation that they actually ate the MREs, or did they just buy a stock image?
I mean, she fucking she got a huge overbite. I think she probably ate them in one bite.
Well, you know, if you need to open all the packages in your MRE at once, she's
Yeah,
your gal.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Just stack them on top of each other like a card deck and just
Yeah,
let it go.
Dude, she teethed on cement bricks. That's a
Oh man. Like but I will say though, the insanity of which people would feverishly trade their items in the MRE, like honestly, like it felt like a bazaar. You know?
Dude, it's crazy. I got Skittles. Who's got Skittles? Dude, if you got Skittles, you're getting your dick sucked.
Yo, this man over here's got cheese with jalapenos.
Dude, it got like that. Like 2 weeks onto a ship. I can't imagine when we had to go into, what do they call it when they like ration control or whatever on a ship. So we had to start eating MREs, and it was like we weren't even in anything. We were just in the ocean. It wasn't like we hadn't been home. Like we were just at a port and we were trying to trade for all that stuff.
I love the disillusion progression scale where like when you first graduate boot camp, like you know, like you're so locked in. You know, you have your dog tags on every day. You know, you stand at parade rest at when you're waiting for the crossing wall.
Yeah.
Like you're just so brainwashed, you know. And then like you just kind of see like the natural progression of when you start to wake up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the time that you get out, you basically have a normal haircut, and you fucking and like you're just like so like hands in the pockets, like don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I think that what it really comes down to is around E5 is kind of the last bastion of sanity. And then after that, you know, you're going to work for someone younger than you for the rest of your career. Lieutenant, a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, or a captain, maybe a major or a light colonel if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Will write your fit rep for all intent and purposes. Like someone younger than you is going to write your reviews for the rest of your career. So you kind of have to sell out and become a company man, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of like when you see people really start to drink the Kool-Aid. Like I remember being like that E5 about to get out. Like I showed up in like civvies for like my last year that I was there because I'm like, I got a VA appointment today.
Yeah.
And I'd done 5 deployments. Like, what are they going to say to me? You know, like,
right.
Like, what are you going to do? Send me back to Afghanistan? And I told my first sergeant that, like, literally, I was like, what are they going to do? And he's just like, well, you know, would you go? I was like, fuck yeah, I would go. It's better than this. I'll extend for that. But yeah, so I remember somebody said something to the effect of just like, oh yeah, you know, like this kid's a shitbag, this, that, and the other. And I'm all about the hot goss, you know, like I want tea, I want the spicy curry, you know, like why is this kid a shitbag, you know? Can you imagine like walking into a Best Buy and seeing like the assistant manager lifing someone out, knife hand and spittle because their name tag was slightly askew?
Yeah, no, dude, that's insane. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And so I want to know. I'm like, oh yeah, like we're gonna insult this man's lineage, you know, like we're gonna
Yeah, yeah,
invalidate everything he's ever done in his life, insult his parents. And
yeah,
like, yeah, he didn't have his name marked in his underwear when I did the uniform inspection.
yeah. What a fucking idiot.
And like that was the kind of moment where like I knew that the Marine Corps had lost its shine for me.
Yeah,
You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah, it was weird. I think it's weird the generation that I was in. I don't know if I can articulate this well, but we like I went in 2013. Like I had missed the wars, you know, and so it was this weird thing where it was my entire company came back from Afghanistan when I got to my unit, and it was weird because it was like I was now the generation of, oh, this is just maintaining training to teach the next generation so they can hopefully use it, you know. It was
Yeah,
no
to pass
longer
the baton down so that way the flame will still be lit when the next war kicks off.
right, exactly. So it was this weird thing where, and there's obviously I'm not saying that I like, there's definitely, it's good that I didn't go, right?
Yeah, I mean, you still got both your legs.
Yeah, I got both my legs, I got my friends, like, you know, like
My
it's
dick
not,
ain't get blown off.
yes, like it's not bad that I didn't go, but it is that whole thing where it's like, what was the point, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I think that a certain level of belligerence is healthy
Yeah,
for morale. Like, you know, if your troops aren't complaining about something, then something's really wrong. You know, like,
that's yes.
and I remember I had I was on duty one time, and the OOD came to visit me at like I think it was like 7 o'clock, right? Like they had just finished up whatever, you know, officer powwow they had, you know, playing with their GI Joes to in the sand table. And so it's just like, all right, like I never understand why officers always stay so late. Like if we're not in the field, there's not really a whole lot to do.
Right.
And like you have your gunny and your first sergeant to plan, you know, logistics and admin. You just got to sign shit. But anyways, so he swung by and like I was looking haggard. Like I assumed my post at like 5 p.m. And he's just like, Sergeant Sharp, are you all right? And I was like, sir, within the first hour, somebody set a roll of toilet paper on fire in the barracks. There was a theft of a laptop, and we got a Red Cross message because somebody's family member had passed away, and I couldn't find them because they were trying to kill themselves. And now I had to send them to Portsmouth for the mental in processing. And he was just like, Jesus, that was the first hour? And I was like, that was the first hour, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the show. Dude,
And he's just
also,
like, well, I'm glad that you were here to handle that. And I was just like, yep. And I'm glad you get paid more than I do, sir.
yeah, yeah, I'm glad that you don't have to worry about this. I think
I'm here for you.
yeah, yeah. I think you know what I think is hilarious is when somebody goes on to suicide watch at like I guess my only experience with it was at boot camp, but when somebody was like, I'm gonna kill myself or whatever, then you just have to shine a flashlight on them when they're trying to sleep. That's what we had to do when a kid tried to like we had to take turns and everybody just shined a flashlight in this kid's face while he tried to sleep. We had to post the new post.
Red light or white lines?
It was white. It was white.
No.
Yeah, it was white. And then it was, we just sat there and hovered it. We had to add an extra shift to fire watch for everybody because we had to we had to
suicide watch. Yeah.
suicide watch thing. And then the kid obviously got sent off and we never saw him again. It was weird too. He tried to drink bleach and it's like, dude, there's better ways.
Like, you know, the third deck is always an option. Not that I'm condoning it.
Yeah, yeah. If you could, I mean, yeah, at least enjoy the fall.
Yeah, like if you can't even take yourself out, how can I expect you to take out the enemy? You know?
Yeah,
like,
dude. Yeah, yeah. What a loser. Yeah.
what a loser.
What a nerd.
And imagine somebody who takes himself far too seriously. Imagine them picking their job off the floor right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the thing is like we'll make like whether you're military or not, talking to veterans or not, but like certain people that have that mindset, they'll just make the most messed up joke and like and then it's gone. It's floating to the ether, never to be thought again.
Yeah, yeah. You can't think about it, man. If I thought about all the crazy shit I've said, I'd probably I don't know.
Man. You know, my head can occasionally be a very dark place, and if you hold on to anything too long, then it'll weigh you down. And I feel like comedy is a way to kind of like you take those bad emotions, you write them on a piece of paper, you tie them to an eco-friendly balloon. Don't cancel me, PETA, and then let it go, and it just floats away.
It does, man. You fucking I have bad OCD, And so I get like intrusive thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so like I get these weird intrusive thoughts where like I'll have like these crazy thoughts about like putting my hand on a stovetop and like things like this. Like it's wild. And I can't, and I have this weird thing where it's like it's an OCD thing. So it's like I obsess over something, and then a compulsion would be like, because I think I'm gonna put my hand on this hot stovetop, I'll go get like a pan and put it on that, like, you know what I'm saying? I try to prevent the thing from
Yeah.
happening. And I've realized that what has to happen for me to like with comedy, like comedy has been an outlet for me to it's weird because if I talk about it, it makes it go away. And so I make jokes about it in a way that it's not just a weird like me being in the corner like I'm gonna put my hand on it. Like I try to explain.
Hey guys,
it.
look at me. Aren't I quirky?
Yeah, it's not that at all, but it's like this weird thing where it's like it has given me comfort to be like, this is crazy that I'm thinking this right now. And like I don't know, it's just been a weird way to it's a weird definitely what I'm trying to get at. It's a coping mechanism for me to get over the thing that I have, you know.
Yeah, because I feel like if you're able to laugh at something, it's like shining a light at it. And once you shine that light under your bed and you see that the monster's not there, that becomes less scary.
For sure, absolutely. Absolutely. It's if I can't joke about something, then it's probably pretty fucked. You know?
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, like if I'm not joking about something, then that's probably when like you really
That's
do need to worry.
right, 100%. If I'm not complaining, that's when something's wrong. Yeah.
So, how much of your comedy do you feel is just therapeutic for you, and how much of it is just to bring joy into the world?
I think most of it's just well, it's weird because if it's therapeutic to me if people laugh. So I guess I'm trying to get people to laugh. So it's not really about me necessarily for the sense that, well, it's weird. I guess how can I say this? It's like if I'm not writing something in the sense that if I put this out there, I'll feel better about it. You know, it's like I'm writing something that tries to get people to laugh so that I feel better. It's not like if I talk about my dog dying, I'm not going to feel bad about my dog dying. It's like if I can get people to laugh at something unrelated to my dog dying, I'll feel better about the whole thing. You know, it's like one of those, because it is such a weird, I mean, it is a drug, dude. You go on stage, you get an adrenaline pump, people laugh at you, you get like you get the dopamine rush. It's like a weird version of a drug.
Yeah.
It's like it's the thing that if I have to do something comedy related, like every day. Like if I'm not doing stand up, which I do probably, I just said do. But if back to shit, we're back to shit. This is full circle.
Full circle.
And
just I'm like we do here in the smoke pit.
Yeah. And if I'm not doing something comedy related, like at least once a day, it's like kind of like I have to I'm always either making content or doing comedy, like performing. I try to get on stage at least like 6 times a week is kind of my rule. And so, that also includes like double dipping on certain nights, doing 3 mics in one night, whatever. But if I'm not doing something like that, I'll start to lose my mind. Like I literally do. It's like the only thing, the one thing that sucks about comedy, at least doing the stand-up route right now. It's the only thing I care about, truly the only thing that I really give a lot of fucks about that's not like, oh, fuck.
Well, that was a very unceremonious way to end. So where can our listeners find you on social media and see more of your comedy?
Yeah, man. You can find me on Instagram at Josh Francis Comedy. I have a podcast where it's just me and 2 of my funniest friends. We just shoot the shit. It's basically like hanging out with your boys. That's kind of how I pitch it. It's Triple F Podcast. That's on every single major streaming platform. We have YouTube. We have Spotify, Spotify, Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, whatever you use, you can find it there. And other than that, I think those are the 2 biggest and yeah, I mean, that's the 2 biggest things I have to promote, I guess.
Well, fantastic. If you could follow one comedian on the road and be their opening act, who would you say?
Dude, Louis C.K. is a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just because of complexion or?
Yeah. No, I just think that he's kind of one of the guys.
He made it. We can all make it.
Yeah, man. He's our fucking beacon of light. He's the redhead's beacon.
Like literally, you seen him take his shirt off?
Yeah. No, I think that he definitely had like,
he was one of the first people when I was young that I started watching. Him and like Dave Chappelle, I was watching when I was in like first grade. It's like
Yeah.
crazy to think that I used to watch that when I had no idea what it was, you know?
What to say, first grade?
I remember my dad changed. So my dad was also, this might help. My dad was in the Marines, so he doesn't, he was back in like in the 70s, and he changed my sleep schedule on Wednesday nights where I could, my bedtime went from like 9 o'clock normally to 10 o'clock. So I could watch the newest episode of South Park and the newest episode of Chappelle Show. And so I think that he kind of became the reason that I have the sense of humor that I do now, because he kind of, he built me up for it.
Well, I'm sure Louis C.K. is a big fan of the Smoke Pit. So, Louis, if you're listening,
Yeah.
please book Josh.
Louis, hit me up, man. Hit me up, man. I'll come and bomb for you anytime you want.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a big name comic, you would almost kind of want your opening act to kind of suck, so that way you just seem that much funnier in comparison.
So it's a two-way street, right? Because you don't want to get, well, it's not like you don't want the guy to be better than you at the beginning, but also you don't want the crowd to not be hot when you go out. So It's like this weird thing where it's like you have to pick somebody that's, I mean, the truth is it doesn't matter how good I am. I'll never be. Louis is like, I think, the funniest person. He's like definitely my favorite comic ever. So it's like, yeah, I think that I could get to the level that I'm at, like the peak level that I can get to, and there's no way I would even touch him.
Yeah, I think that if it was me, and granted, this is just me speculating from my theory of or my place of a fantasy, which is you dream big in the Smoke Pit, right?
Yeah.
If it was me, I have a very a moderately funny comic go out there, and then when I get out there and be like, "Hey guys, I'm kind of sorry that he sucked. Free beer for everyone." And everybody's like, "Yeah," and they go nuts, right? And then I do my set, and at the very end, be like, "I lied," and run off.
Yeah. No free beer. Fuck you. And then you kick somebody in the head as you run off.
Be like, I got your laughs. You can't take it back.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. At the end of this, I promise I'll give you guys all a hand job, and then you and then you
free beers tomorrow, and then run away.
Yeah. And then you pull a gun out and start shooting in the air, dude. That's how you gotta get. That's how I end my sets now. I just pull a gun out and I shoot in the air, and I said,
legally required in Florida,
Oh yeah. I'm like, yeah. And then I start a riot. Sometimes we go to the Capitol. It's just
sometimes. And then they shoot tear gas and it lands in your butt, and it feels so good.
Yeah, it's like a good burn,
Yeah.
That combined with the chlamydia, man.
Oh yeah, and then it's like soothing for the hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get out of here before we really do get canceled.
Yeah, before I come.
Fair winds, following seas. We'll see you next time here in the Smoke Pit.